So, we are in the middle of a series, not really in the middle, we just started a series, lightly based on the teachings of It's Not Your Money by Tosha Silver. And I say lightly because Unity has a history of doing what we call abundance work and abundance teachings and prosperity teachings, and it's one of our core foundations. And so with that, we are always in that work. Our vision statement here is inspiring spiritual growth and abundant living. So we always explore what that means to live in abundance, what these abundance principles mean. And it's not about getting or hoarding or accumulating or becoming more of a consumer. It's about recognizing what we truly are in our beings, in our nature, and that we are an inlet and an outlet of all that is God. And so it's really a process of a very organic process of looking at what we are as beings of light and how we're most meant to operate. This is a total tangent, but has anyone heard about the grounding movement? I mean, it's kind of funny because grounding, like we all think about grounding, and grounding is getting on the earth, right? Having your feet walk the earth, right? But there's a film out, and we're going to be showing that film as part of our 100-year anniversary weekend. But there's some science behind it, but there's this thing going on of people doing grounding, and they have little mats to get themselves grounded and stuff like that. But in the natural way, grounding is just being on the earth. It's spending a lot of time on the earth. It's taking your shoes off. It's getting into the nature of who you are. Like, how often do you find yourself walking down a creek in your bare feet, you know? How often do you find yourself with your shoes off in the grass? And you can't really do that very much in Missouri because of those chiggers and the ticks. It's very disappointing to me. That would be one thing I would change. I grew up in Indiana, and you could lay in the grass, you could roll in the grass, and in my grass, you can do none of that. But our abundance teachings and our prosperity teachings are looking at things like that, looking at what is in our nature. Not just looking at the world around us and how we're expected to operate, but looking at the world within us and how it operates. How does the world within us and the spiritual universe really operate? And then could we step into alignment with that? Rather than what we often do in the human condition, what we have a tendency to do, is try to be like the world wants us to be and then wonder, what is wrong with me? Like, what is wrong with me that this isn't satisfying? What is wrong with me that this doesn't feel like abundance? What is wrong with me that when I go after accumulation, I actually just feel like I have more useless stuff? What is wrong with me that I've searched after everything that it seems like this world tells me I should be looking for? I have it, and it is completely unfulfilling. Maybe not completely. It's about being in our nature and understanding our nature and not expecting the world or our culture or our systems or our government or our communities to understand us and teach it to us and create it for us, but to really do a deep dive within and to give ourselves full permission to be Spirit-led, to be Spirit-guided in our lives, and to create from that. And to find things, find ways, find experiences, find practices that nourish our being, that nourish abundance within. Abundance. It's a big word. It's a big word that we often think is about getting and having more, yeah? Biblically, we can go back to the Prayer of Jabez. If you know Jabez, it's the idea of launching that prayer that says, enlarge my territory. Enlarge my territory. Jabez was born in sorrow. That's the idea behind him. But he learned that just because he was born in sorrow didn't mean he needed to stay there. Just because he was born in lack or limitation, that didn't mean that was his inheritance. That in fact his inheritance could be greater than that. That he was meant for better things. And so he wasn't going to live that way forever. So Jabez asked God to give him a new vision, to widen his borders, to expand his territory. From I Chronicles 4:10, Jabez called on God of Israel, saying, "Oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, that you would keep me from evil error, that I may not cause pain." That's because his mother named him after like born in pain. Imagine that, your name was born in pain, one that causes pain. So God granted him what he requested, and it was a simple prayer. It was a simple prayer of enlarge my territory. But we're sometimes born into that which constricts us, right? It feels like we're born into this experience of suffering or this experience of lack or this experience of limitation. And in Unity, we teach that prayer of expand my territory is a prayer of inner development and inner expansion. And yes, there are outer effects of that inner expansion, but we look at what underlies every prayer. We look at what underlies every want. So if someone has a material want, we don't just leave it on the surface of, yeah, okay, that material want. What's underneath that? What's underneath that? What's underneath that? What's underneath that? And it's usually something a little more like freedom, peace, joy, creativity, aliveness. I want to be wildly alive. I want to feel my nature. It's rarely I want a Ferrari because I just really want a Ferrari. There's something underneath that. And so we look at those desires, knowing that the word desire coming from of the Father, of the source, that there is something to that. Now we can get distracted and we can think it's just about filling things and getting things, but we are an inlet and an outlet of all that is God. We are, even our bodies, right? It's a circulation system. The circulatory system, everything about us comes and goes, even our whole selves, right? I always say we lift into our freedom form. The whole self comes in and it goes out. So that's our nature. So it would make sense that if we operate according to our nature in every area of our life, we will create more harmony, we will create more order, we will create more peace, we will be more grounded, more fulfilled, more centered. But the human condition grasps. The human condition is one of craving and aversion. The human condition is one in which we try to hold on to anything good, anything that looks good, anything that we might want more of. We try to pull, we try to grab it, we try to seize it. And in seizing it, what do we often do? We strangle it. Oh, terrible story coming to mind. I won't tell it. Okay, I will. I have these mice in my house. If you ever know about there's always something in my house. But I have these little mice in my house, and I consciously have these little traps that they can go into, and then you open the trap and you let them out, right? But I had one that I forgot was there when I really didn't have mice, and they're supposed to be fine traps. But it's like this is terrible that I'm even telling this story, but it's like a bear claw, like a little bear claw. And it got like the big daddy the other night, and I didn't know what it was. I just heard this rustling, and I'm like, I checked all the other traps, and nothing came out, and then I realized, that's right, there was one other one left. And so I got this guy, and I had to pick him up. I know, torture for some of us that are little animal people. And I had to pick him up with him dangling, hanging out there, just going, ah! But I opened it up, and he just flew through the yard and ran away. Actually, he ran towards the house. But then last night, I hear movement again. And I probably shouldn't have reset it, but I set it again. And I hear movement again. And so I go downstairs right away, and I pick it up, and it's one of the little guys. And I picked it up, and as fast as I could, and trying to be really gentle, because he's hanging from him. And I bring him, and I open it up, get ready to watch him run away. And let's just end the story there. It was raining. He was upside down, yeah. Hopefully somebody had a good dinner or lunch or midnight snack. But we strangle things when we try to hold on. Because we're not stagnant beings. We're an inlet and an outlet. We're a flow. Our energy is a flow of life. So anywhere there is not flow, anywhere there is constriction or grasping, we end up with suffering. Because we're here to be givers. And that's what our abundance teachings in Unity bring us to. They bring us to that side of the practice. They help us get out of the side of the practice that's all about what I want. And gets into what am I? And when we do that, we focus on the side of the giving. What can I give? What can I generate? What am I circulating? Because this life moved through me, what has been done that would not otherwise be done? Every time I throw something into the trash can, not every time, but I open that big lid and I put my trash in there and I think, this is what I am leaving on the planet. Like everything that's in this trash can, it goes somewhere and the planet is only so big and it's there. Something has to be done with it unless it's in the compost. That's my contribution. It's my contribution, whether I like it or not. Am I willing to see that that's my contribution? Am I willing to be more conscious of it? Am I willing to know that because that's one of my contributions that seems a little inevitable, right? Let me be more mindful and more conscious of my other ones. Let me think about where I invest my money so that when my time on the planet is done, I have not only sustained a coffee shop or a restaurant, or you fill in the blank. Think about what you spend most of your resources on, or think about the resources you wish you didn't spend on things that you do, that you're like, oh, I hate to say that I'm sourcing that, but I'm sourcing that store, or I'm sourcing that paradigm, or I'm sourcing whatever it is. But we become investors. We realize we're here to invest. We realize that we're co-creators. We're here to generate. And the more conscious we become, the more we want to be aware of that impact and be responsible for it. And that goes with our time as well. Time can just get flittered away, can't it? I mean, really, if you're not intentional with your time, there's a vortex. But when you invest your time, just a little bit of time invested in things, can make the world of difference. And your talents, who you are, bringing who you are to something and circulating that, focusing on giving that rather than what I want. When we focus on our time, our talent, our treasure, and what we can do with them, we can become very conscious and we can make big shifts with little actions. Some of you know I just recently started my yoga practice again because another yoga studio opened up here, and I was very fortunate to be told about it. And it used to be, I did my teacher training in Denver years ago, before I went to ministerial school, actually, so I would have some way to have a job, a kind of job that wouldn't take away from my studies, that would actually add to it. And at that time, I was the person in their 20-somethings in the yoga class, so I was the kid in the yoga class. And now I'm the old lady in the yoga class with all the kids. And it's absolutely fantastic. I think about the women that were there with me, and I was always like, wow, I want to be like that. And now I am. So I go to yoga class with all these 20-somethings, and I was in the class the other day, and there's a pose called half locust. Now, I have not done this pose for probably 20 years. It's a hard pose, and it kind of suffocates your hands, but essentially you lay down on, we're not doing it, but you lay down on the ground, and then you put your elbows just under here, and your whole body is laying on you. And then if you can, you'd lift up your feet. And when I was younger, like I could do that, and I could really, like your front of your body is here, and you're laying on your hands, and then you lift your legs, and it's something else. But you lift your legs up. And I could get my legs up, and they would keep coming up. And it was a fun pose, right? Well, even just getting your arms under there, now it's like a thing. And the instructor said that, for most of us, our arms don't even go under there. And I thought, I've tried it since, and it's very sad. But I thought, why don't I just start with that step? Why don't I just try something I haven't tried in a long time that I know I can't do? Why don't I just stick my arms under there and crush them and lay on them and be uncomfortable for a moment and stretch? So I did. And, there's I tried this one other time, and there's no, the toes don't even lift off the ground, right? There's nothing. And you don't even, do you know the things that you think are not physically possible? And you relate this to your abundance story. Maybe it's that you have some debt, And the idea that that debt could be gone seems impossible. Maybe you've identified yourself with poverty in some way, some area of your life, or relationship, or whatever it is. You fill in the blank. Maybe you think you don't have gifts or skills or talents. Maybe you think your time is consumed with X, Y, Z, whatever it is. You fill in the blank with whatever your challenge is. But there's some area of life that we say, I'm out. I'm done. It is what it is. I know what it is. Maybe it's our health. I know what it looks like. It's not going to change. I'm never going to be there again. And then there comes a moment where you say, well, let me try it on. And just like picking up an instrument, if you pick up an instrument, the first time you pick it up and try to play it, you're not going to get something good. You don't expect to get something good. The second time you do, you're not going to get something good. The third time you do, and if you do, good, you've got something. But most of us don't. Most of us, it takes picking it up over and over again, little bits at a time, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, I can kind of play the guitar. And the same thing happened to me in this yoga class. I, have been doing it for a little while now, and I thought, there's no point in trying, but then I thought, I'll try. And then I thought, there's no point in trying to lift my feet. And I was like, well, maybe just the toes. Maybe I just try to lift my toes just a little, And there I was, after having gone time after time after time, knowing that it wasn't possible and thinking, I'm not going to do this again, ever. I decided to try. And I lifted my feet, and they came up a little bit. And I lifted a little more, and they came up a little bit. I lifted a little more, and there they were. Nothing like what I used to do, but they were actually off the ground. I actually thought with physics and engineering, biology, I thought this is not possible anymore. It's not possible anymore. With the way I'm made, it's literally not possible to do that lift anymore. But there they go, just a little bit up. And I was like, man, look at the old lady in the yoga class. I did it. For me. And I realized how if you do just a little bit at a time and you commit to it, things that you don't think could happen can happen. Things that you're not even looking at, you're not even trying to do. Things that you've said, I've given up on that. There's no point. But you learn the pattern, you apply a principle, and you make a commitment, and little by little you apply that commitment and things change. Now, if you engage in the idea of tithing, of circulating your finances to where you see spiritual nourishment shared, no, in 1 month, in 1 year, you're not going to start an organization. You're probably not going to have enough money that you birthed something all by yourself. But little by little, from your commitment, and your commitment woven together with the other like-minded commitments of other people that are saying, I'm here on the planet for this amount of time, and I am going to plant something. I am going to leave something. I am going to generate something. That comes together with that which everyone else that has that mind and that heart does and says, and then here you are in the middle of Lee Summit, Missouri, on acres of property because people listened and gave to where they saw spiritual nourishment shared. Not because they were guilted into it, not because someone told them to, not because they should, not because someone even needed it, but because they wanted to be a generator, a giver, because they stepped into the principles and the practice. So with every experience of abundance work, when we dive into the abundance practice, there are a few things that every abundance practice seems to have, and I think needs to have, in order for it to be fulfilling, in order for it to be transforming. Because it's a big practice. When you engage in an abundance practice, you're looking out at a world of matter, you're looking out at a world of substance, and you're looking out at a world of what seems to be a world of limitation, right? All we get and all we hear there is not enough. We operate on the principles that there is not enough for everyone, that everyone shouldn't be taken care of, that some people should have a lot more and some people should have a lot less, that everything is finite and limited. That's the world that we look out on. Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, said, "The inexhaustible resource of spirit is equal to every demand." So you make a demand, there is an inexhaustible resource of spirit, the inner work. He says, get into the prosperity thought, and you will demonstrate prosperity. Cultivate the habit of thinking about abundance everywhere present. He said, the lesson for us should be to build our prosperity on the inner substance, on the inner substance. So what are 3 key practices around building up that inner substance, around being more aware and diving in to abundance? They are prayer, order, and focus. Prayer, order, and focus. So let's talk about prayer. In Unity, we teach affirmative prayer. And that's different from other forms of prayer, which are beseeching prayer or begging prayer or contemplative prayer. Lots of good forms of prayer out there, but we teach affirmative prayer. That's stepping into believing, stepping into declaring. And it's more than a prayer that you would say at an altar or at night before you go to bed. It's a living, full-bodied prayer. And it has to do with looking into every word you say in your mind, every word that comes out of your mouth, and every thought that is expressed through your being. It actually takes a deep dive to look at what you do with your I am, what you attach that to, what comes after the words I am. And do you hear yourself saying anything in your own life that's negative after that? And that is prayer. There's an old school Unity song called Our Thoughts Are Prayers, and we're always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness. Every thought becomes a prayer. So we teach that and we live that. And you can see that in the world around you. Spirit, source, God can do no more to you than God can do through you. So if our prayers are not conscious, if we're sitting here saying, this is what I want, but then with every aspect of our being, with our thoughts, with our words, with our emotions, we're slapping it all away, good luck, right? So it's about doing an inventory. It's about looking at ourselves and looking at, how am I praying? You might think you don't even pray. There is no one that doesn't pray. The atheist prays. The agnostic prays because they think and they feel. And those are your co-creative faculties, divine faculties that are faculties of creation. So are we looking into our prayers? Are we looking into our I am identity? Are we looking into the unspoken agreements? Because that is the foundation from which we birth things, from which we birth our next experience and our next reality. Looking at how we pray, how we think, how we talk. Am I going to stay in limitation? Am I going to listen to those records over and over and over in my mind? Or am I going to stop and put in some conscious thought there? Am I going to start using my words to align with my prayers or my intentions or my goals or my vision for expansion or vision for the future? And when we do that, we take that first foundational step. And things shift. And it sometimes feels like garbage in the beginning. It sometimes feels like it's not true, right? Like we're saying things that are not true because I'm looking at something that seems limited and I am saying it is unlimited. I am saying that which is behind it, there is an unlimited source. Nothing needs to limit me. But all you have to do is look through history and what people have lived through to recognize that people can be free and people can be captive in any situation. There are people that have every resource at their fingertips, every resource you could ever think you wanted, and they are captive They are caged. They are dying in there. And there are people that have nothing, and they are free. Our thoughts are prayers, and we're always praying. The second is to take a look at order. Charles Fillmore ideated these 12 powers. They kind of go along with the chakra centers, but he said with our 12 powers, when you activate all of those 12 powers, that's awakening, that's enlightenment, that's the anointing. When you can get all of your divine faculties, when you have understanding around them, conscious practice around them, mindfulness around them, you have awakening. And order is one of those. And so any abundance practice has an element of order, and that element of order includes everything from letting go, everything from creating physical order, from cleaning out your house, cleaning out your car, cleaning out your wallet, letting go of the things that no longer are needed in your life, letting go of the clutter, letting go of the attachments, like, oh, I'm going to save those because someday. No, I'm going to circulate that because until that day, this many people can use it. You know, the multiplying of bread and Jesus, the master teacher, there are some teachings that say that happened. Like, you know, it could have been a miracle. It could have just been like, boom, there's more bread, right? Like, and it could be that the Prince of Peace had a conversation with people and inspired people, and through the energy of the movement of the moment, everyone took their own personal stash, and when the bread came around that wasn't going to feed everyone, people realized that they are an inlet and an outlet, that they are not just here to be fed, they are not just here to receive, but they're here to give. And as that went around, it came out, and in the end, there was more and more than enough for everyone. Because everyone got that I am here and now in this moment, and I don't need all of this for myself. I can give, and I can trust that what I need then will be there. It'll be in the future when I have it. So I'm not going to hold on to this breadcrumb, hold on to this until it molds in my house. But I am going to trust in this moment that we are an inlet and an outlet of all that is God. And I'm going to recognize I am here to source things. I don't know today which one would be a greater miracle. Like, which one would be a greater miracle if Elon Musk all of a sudden said, you know what, I'm going to fund all of the social programs that we need. Or if everyone said, we are done with lack. And everyone was inspired together to make a different choice and to say, not on my watch will the world look like this anymore. Which is a greater miracle? That we could address the soul of our being, the core of our being, and get humanity to wake up to our true nature. Order. Letting go of holding on, looking at our integrity issues, our alignment issues, forgiveness work, freeing, letting go. Knowing that forgiveness work isn't just about saying, okay, it's okay that something happened to me, or it's okay you did something. Forgiveness work is about freeing everyone. It's about freeing yourself. It's about giving up the right to have a perfect past, because it's past. Some people pray for more. They pray for a bigger house. They do the prayer of Jabez, expand my territory. And in the midst of that prayer, while they're praying that prayer, they are stomping on the good that is right in front of them. I'd like a bigger house, a bigger space. I'd like something nicer. Well, how good am I taking care of what's in front of me right now? How clean is the car I'm driving? When we pray that in, we don't always realize this, but when we pray in more before there's order, we're praying in more chaos. We're praying in the kind of stuff that's like, now I am living under my stuff. Now I am serving my stuff. How many people pay for storage units? That's a crazy concept. I'm now paying to not see my stuff because I don't want to let go. I'm not trusting that what I need will be there when I get it or when I need it. Charles Fillmore, what did he say? The inexhaustible resource of spirit is equal to every demand. Every demand. So if you want more money, are you stewarding the money you have? Are you aware of where it goes? Are you dedicating a portion of it, saying, let all the funds be like this? Are you mindful? Are you grateful? What is our practice around that? Are we forgiving? Are we circulating emotionally? Letting go of our attachments, letting go of our resentments. Prayer, order. The third is focus. The power of focus is magnificent. And we way underutilize it. I mean, we're talking brain science, even just brain science. We way underutilize the power of focus. So when we look at the power of focus, what is our attitude? What is our intention? Are we focusing on gratitude? Are we focusing on our words? Because it makes a difference. Are we using our co-creative power, that power of focus, to recognize that what I focus on matters, has an impact, creates? Tosha Silver shares this prayer about one-pointed resolve. And she invites us to know these words. I now offer this journey fully to love. May everything that's ready to open, open. May everything that's ready to leave, leave. I long for the highest to occur. May I be abundance. Can we get clear on what we focus on and stop putting our energy everywhere and become intentional, laser focused on the world within us and what we're intending to co-create? Let's take a deep breath and move into a time of meditation. I'm going to use Tosha Silver's meditation for abundance. But I invite you just to take a deep breath on this morning, an inhale and an exhale, and lift something up into this space. You may be tuning in to something conscious or to knowing there's some unconscious behaviors, thoughts, accumulation, whatever it is, that you know are standing in the way of your good and the greater good for the world. Because when we step into our good, we step into the great good. It may be that you don't know what it is. You think, I have exhausted all the possibilities. I'm doing everything I think I could possibly do, and this stuff keeps happening. Or this little area of life just doesn't happen, doesn't kick in. Expand my territory. Burr the vision within me. Let's take a deep inhale and exhale. And just become fully present right here and right now. Open, willing to experience ourselves as an inlet and an outlet. I'm not holding on anymore. It's safe to let go. It's safe to let go. It's safe to let go. Even though I think I know what I need and what I want. Even though I think I know I need more. and willing to draw my attention, my intention, my focus on what I'm called to give. To give, to circulate, to give up. I don't need to hold on anymore. I long to experience spiritual abundance and to trust that when I have this within, when I know this within, all of my truest and deepest needs will be met. Because I am meeting this moment, understanding my true nature, practicing the presence. I could not possibly sit in lack or want when the living water is flowing in and through and as me. Inhaling and exhaling. We allow the words of Tosha Silver's abundance prayer to move through our being. And I invite you to shift any words you feel called to shift so that they meet you right where you are. So they open you up. Divine Beloved, allow me to give with complete ease and abundance, knowing you are the unlimited source of all. Let me be an easy, open conduit for your prosperity. Let me trust that all my own needs are always met in amazing ways. And it's safe to give freely as my heart guides. And equally, please let me feel wildly open to receiving. May I know my own value, beauty, and worthiness without question. Let me allow others the supreme pleasure of giving to me. May I feel worthy to receive in every possible way. Change me, evolve me, move me, expand me into someone who can fully love, forgive, and accept myself, so I may carry your light without restriction. Let everything that needs to go, go. Let everything that needs to come, come. I am utterly your own. You are me. I am you. We are one. All is well. by the power of this practice. May all beings have freedom from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings know God as love and themselves as emanations of this love. May all beings know they are born blessed and here to be a blessing. Namaste.